When developing a Mule project, it makes sense to have a central handling of common errors like the connectivity error, security error, and those arising out of the API kit router. This in turn offers you a reusable piece of code that can be used in multiple projects. It provides you centralized logging and handling of common errors, also helps in implementing a standard error response that is being widely used across the organization. So in this video, we are going to see how can we implement a global error handler. So to create a global error handler, we'll start off with the mule error object. We'll understand a few basics of mule error, and then we'll understand how do we create a custom error, follow a few guidelines of creating business errors, and then finally we'll create a mule project where we have implemented the common error handler. So let's get started. So let's first understand the connector and the code runtime errors. So basically any error starts from the Java code breaks, and then it raises exception, and that in turn gets wrapped up into a connector error. So if you can see, the HTTP unauthorized and HTTP forbidden are a part of the error which belong to the requester connector. So they come under the HTTP namespace and followed by an identifier unauthorized and forbidden in the second case. So this comes under the connector errors. All right. So next we have a Mule client security and Mule server security. Client security and server security are part of the core runtime errors, and they have an implicit namespace called Mule. So these are in turn wrapped under the Mule security error, and that again in turn wrapped under the Mule any error. So this, the one at the left is the core runtime errors and one at the right is the connector errors. But the connector errors are part of the runtime errors where this HTTP unauthorized will come under the Mule client security error. So that's how the basic structure of Mule error is. The Java code raises an exception that gets wrapped up into a connector error. Connector error comes under any of the Mule implicit core runtime errors, and then it travels the hierarchy. Now let's understand the namespace and the identifier construct. So why do we need namespace colon identifier? Why do we have this format? Suppose take an example of a not found error. So not found error can occur in multiple scenarios. Take an example of an HTTP request. HTTP request, when a resource is not found, it will throw a not found, 404 not found. In case a file is not found, even there we can have a not found error. Take a business scenario where the customer ID does not exist. So that is also a valid place where we can use the identifier not found. So this not found identifier can be reused with different entities. So that's the reason we need to uniquely identify the not found identifier. So to uniquely identify, we tie it with a namespace. For example, HTTP and file. So even if you have a custom namespace created, you can connect the custom namespace with not found, like customer not found, account not found, and so on. Again, the same structure of the error, like the connector error and the custom errors, which fall under the connector errors, and the connector errors comes under the code runtime errors. So let's move ahead. Let's come to the mule error object. So mule error object has basically 5 sections. One is the description, other is the type, cause, message, and child errors. So description will give a short description of why did the error occur. For example, if you can see, until successful retry is exhausted, when you have a retry mechanism like until successful scope, that should throw this error, and you can get it using error.description in the data view script. Again, the type shows what type of the error is, like The it will give you the namespace and identifier combination, and you can access it using error.error type. Again, cos will give you the underlying Java throwable object, which could be the name of the Java class. Like if you can see retry policy exhausted exception, and it can be fetched using error.cos using the data view expression. Again, message gives you an optional error message, and same is the case of child. Child errors occur when suppose you are using scatter gather, where a scatter gather has multiple routes, and it will have multiple routes will have can have their own errors, so they fall under the child error. So error dot child errors is how you get those errors. Now let's understand the core runtime hierarchy. So the core runtime errors encapsulate all the errors, be it your custom errors or be it the connector error. All are encapsulated under the core runtime errors. So it starts with two segregation. One is the any and the other is the critical. Any are exceptions that can be handled. Critical are basically errors that cannot be handled. It's same saying as Java exception and errors, where in exception you can do something. In critical, in errors you cannot do anything, and it has to stop there and there itself. So any in any we have unknown. Suppose the error has no identifier namespace combination allocated, that would be caught using the unknown. That would fall under the category unknown. Transformation. A point to note that this transformation error does not mean the data view transform error. Those are different. Transformation errors fall under the mule runtime internal transformation error. So any errors occurring because of the mule runtime internal transformation, they fall under this category. Routing routing errors are for the scatter gather. Those fall under the routing errors. Connectivity fall under the connectivity hack. I might have multiple like FTP connectivity, SFTP, the mule HTTP requester. Expression, here all the data view expression failures, errors come under this hierarchy. Then connectivity will have one more which is called as retry exhausted, that falls under this. Then comes security, client security and server security. So there is a difference between client security and server security. The error falls under the category of client security when it has occurred due to calling of a third API, that is the other API. And suppose you call it with a wrong client ID secret combination or some other authentication mechanism fails. So it might give you a 401 or 403. So all those errors are captured by the client security. But the server security is different. Server security is when the internal application, when using filters and someone passes wrong credentials to your own application, at that time those errors which you can throw fall under the server security errors. Critical has a fatal error and an overload error. So errors like flow back pressure, or sometimes you might also get out of memory or stack overflow error. All those will fall under the either under the fatal or the overload. So overload ideally comes in the flow back pressure error would come under overload. So the flow back pressure error comes when the source of your flow, like the HTTP listener or the GMS listener or any kind of listener which is unable to listen, which is overwhelmed and unable to serve the request. So that is when you get a flowback pressure error, which is a part of this overload. And fatal errors come when there is a out of memory issue. So all the JVM errors will fall under this category. So now talking about the business errors. So every application will have some sort of business errors. So you have to create your own exception because we never get any business exception out of the box. So we create our own. So the this should be created using the raise error option that we have, and that should always follow a namespace and identifier construct. So as you can see, I am setting up an account, and means the that belongs to the account entity and has a block identifier, and a short description about the message. So let's look at a few naming guidelines. How do we raise the error and custom errors that are business errors? So namespaces should identify the entity the error belongs to, meaning every application that is has some business sort of relevance to business will come under, if it is a microservice based application, will come under some bounded context. All right, for example, a customer's bounded context, an account bounded context, so it falls under different contexts. So customer, you can have a namespace as customer, a namespace as account, and namespace as payment, depending upon the bounded context. And it's also important to have a prefix with your company name, like whatever your company name should could be. Uh, Append it prefix as a prefix and underscore account, my company underscore customer, my company underscore payment. So this is how you can create a namespace of the error. Again, talking about identifier, identifiers tell you what exactly is wrong with that entity. Suppose if the customer is blocked, so you make an identifier as blocked because the customer is blocked, or he is a blacklisted customer, or in case if there is an account, so account not found, and gives you an idea that okay, this account ID number is does not exist or something like that. So the namespace and identifier should be a combination that gives you a sense whenever someone reads this error type. Okay, so when namespace and identifier are come, so that's the same thing that I was talking. It should give you some sense. Now let's come to a common error handler. So this is what we have been waiting for so long. So the error handler should be designed as a common component that processes errors in a structured and a consistent manner so that they can be leveraged by your centralized logging management tool for filtering and alerting the dashboard. So when I say structured and consistent manner, it has got something to do with the logging that we are doing and also the payload that we are sending back. So the logging should contain specific key value pairs that help you to index your search queries, and also the proper description of your error, whatever has occurred. So that is what structured and consistent manager. And so it should be consistent throughout the application. Same structure should be followed, and perfect key value pairs on which you can do the indexing. That should be logged whenever the error occurs. So there are some key responsibility of your common error handlers. So that is, it should return the correct HTTP status code. Like if it's not found, so it should wrap the response in 404. Bad request should come under 400. Any sort of error that has occurred, which could be a mule client security. So client security will definitely come to you as a response 401 or 403, but you have to wrap it under 500. So that's what returning correct HTTP status code means. Like you have to return the proper code. Sending if you get 401 from the third party API that your API calls and you send the same back to the client, that doesn't make sense. That has to be wrapped under 500. Logging error type and message. Obviously, you have to log the correct error type and message, which would help you in searching the error quickly when you are using some log aggregators like third-party log aggregators like Splunk. Create a response payload to be sent back to the consumer. So if your organization is following a standard structure of error response, so you should follow that error response. So to follow that, the common error handler helps you that you create a specific structure, and whatever the error is coming to that part, it will automatically arrange that error into that particular structure and send it back as a response. So it creates a standardized response for the error response for the API, which remains consistent throughout the organization. And the last point is pushing the message to retry or poison queue. So this is a part of reliability pattern where you might have exhausted all the retry attempts for the message, and you might want to push it to a poison queue because you don't want to lose the message but it has some errors. So when those errors are resolved, you can re-trigger it. So we keep it safe somewhere. So you can. This is an optional feature, not required, but it's good to have feature, like pushing the message to the dead letter channel or poison queue. So let's move to the coding part. I have already created the error handling. So let's have a look. Before that, I have created a RAML and I've imported the RAML and created scaffolding flow from it. So there's only a one endpoint get hello, and ensure that when you're creating a common error handler, it's a good idea to remove the error handling that comes by default with the scaffolding flow, like I have removed over here. You might also want to remove the console API kit console when going to production. And now uh, create a common.xml mule configuration file, and in that we'll do the error handling. So before starting this, just ensure that in the listener we are going to set the response. Okay, so the response status code is retrieved from the HTTP set status. So we are supposed to modify this variable or set the value for this variable. And once you have the common error handler created in the global element, we need to create a configuration, and in configuration we have to reference this global error handler. That is what is required to do. Now let's come to the error handler. So I've created an error handler. It has this error component on error propagate, but for that before that I've taken an error handler, and inside I have multiple on error propagate. So basically just we need to understand that we should be aware of the common errors that occur, like connectivity error occurs, security errors might occur. So I've just handled this too. If you might want to add according to your needs multiple errors. So connectivity error, in case of connectivity error, I am setting a variable, and I'm setting the HTTP variable status and the value, corresponding value, and I'm calling a flow reference. I've created a error response flow. We'll come back to it later. Then I have created on error propagate for client security. So I've kept two different server security and client security. So client security is when my API will call some other API, and due to some wrong credentials configured in my API, I get unauthorized or forbidden error. So I'm going to wrap those errors into a 500 internal server error. I'm not going to send those error as is to the client because that won't make sense. Next up is the Mule server security. Like if some other user is passing wrong credentials to my API, I want to handle it and send a response accordingly. So I have implemented a choice router, and in that I'm finding the identifier as if it comes under unauthorized, I'll set the status code 401 accordingly, and if anything else comes, I'll set it as 403. Okay, and again I'll call the handle error, the generate error response flow, which will generate a standard error response and log it. Again, the final is any other errors which are not handled, they come over here. But since I have deleted the API kit router, and the reason for deleting the API kit router is I don't want Mule scaffolding error handler to handle, because I have a proper error structure that I want to be followed. It's widely used across the organization. So to maintain a consistency, I have deleted that API kit router error handling, and I've implemented my own. So what I've done is I created a choice router. Okay, and in this choice router, I have two routes. This is the first one, and this is the second one, the default. The first one is capturing all the API kit namespace errors. So this is doing the job that the scaffolding error handler was doing. So instead, I am doing it manually. I am taking any of the API kit error will land up into this choice route. And again, in this choice route, I have one more choice, and this is checking the identifiers. So the namespace was API kit route API kit, and in that I have identifiers like bad request. So if you can see, this is a bad request. So whatever bad request comes, I'll set the response HTTP status as 400, which is bad request. Again, then I have a not found. I'll be setting not found as 404. So you see this is the HTTP status variable that we are setting, and that's same in the response of the HTTP listener. So again, when the identifier is method not allowed, I'm setting it accordingly. 405. Same for not acceptable. 406. So in short, I have replicated all the errors which were created by the scaffolding error flow, and I have manually I am setting those status code, and then I am logging the error just for debugging purpose. I'll remove it later on. That's just for debugging purpose. So final logging and creating of error is done by the flow reference. And then finally, when this inner choice router ends, so it goes back to this original choice router, and there is a default that any other unhandled error comes to this this route, and it sets to status to 500. That is internal server error. All right, so now the every flow is directing to flow reference is directing to this generate error response flow. So I have a standard error structure which my organization follows. So any standard error response will have a code, type, and message. Additionally, it might have an extra tag which you can name it as something like issue, and issues will be an array of errors which might include some extended details like what was the business code of the error, business code of your error, and um, additional details of those errors you can additionally include in the issues tag. But this is a pretty basic structure of how you should have your error, or how your organization is having error. You can just frame that error. So it should include at least three basic things should be there, like the code, type, and message. So code will have the HTTP status that we are sending back. Type has the identifier, whatever it is. You might also want to include the namespace. You can do that as well, and a short description. So optionally, like I said, you can add issues or name that tag in any something else, if you whatever you want, so that it has additional details of what exactly went wrong. And same payload should be logged as an error, so that here I'm logging it on console, but in case if you have your custom connector forwarding the logs to Splunk or some other log aggregator, that should be followed. A proper structure of that JSON should be followed. Or you can utilize the same JSON structure, and then you can put indexing on maybe the status code or maybe the identifier of the message to understand what errors you have been frequently getting. So this is how you create a common error handler. So let's now that we have created, let's try to run this and test if we are getting the expected error. or not. So let's run the project. So it might take some time to start. So the application has started. Now let's go to the browser and try to hit the API. So there we have, we get the response code as 404 because I have put a wrong path. This does not exist. Type is not found, and the message that we have. We can add a more sensible message by making changes to the transform. But in short, this is how you can create a common error handler and log accordingly. So also the logging part I have done here. So if you can see, uh, it is logging. The status code has been logged, and the code type, the same payload has occurred, and the status I've added extra. I've added a status also error so that while searching the log, it becomes easy to scan the logs using these key value pairs. So that's it for this video. I hope you might have found this video useful and you would implement this in your project. Thanks for watching.